What's going on, FA Nation? That's right, the family is back with you again. The reuniting, the mega powers combined. I'm virtually shaking your hand.
Oh
Howard Bender,
yeah!
baby,
Oh
kicking it
yeah!
right. There you go. I had to do my one Hulk Hogan pose for you. He's Howard Bender. I am Justin Fensterman. This is another edition of Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk, leading you right into your 4th of July weekends where you better be safe. Pandemic ain't over yet, but that doesn't mean, Howard, that the winning has to end just because we have this stupid pandemic here.
Stupid pandemic. We can get through it, man. We can definitely get through it. Look at this. I just got delivered today, this morning, my new mask, dude. Look at this.
Wow.
Right? It's
That's
a
style.
Jets mask, baby.
That is. It's hey, they're undefeated right now, Howard. So
They
that
are
fits in perfectly.
they are undefeated. I'm super stoked about this. I got to shout it out to Hope Myers. Hope Myers. That's at FF_Hope on the old Twitter machine. She totally hooked me up. I got a Jets mask. And then my wife got this like styling, like tie-dye New York Giants logo, sparkly, whole crazy mask thing. So I'm ready for the 4th of July, baby. Oh yeah, buzzsaw.
I'm going to be laughing at that the entire. You got to take that off. No, keep it on. Keep it on.
No, I'll take it.
No. Howard, let me talk to you about something that's been bothering me because even though we are in a pandemic, everybody, you know how this works. We've worked together for half our lives. Everybody likes to wait until the last minute for things. And that's including starting your fantasy sports leagues. We got baseball coming up in a few weeks. We got football shortly after that. And with that, Howard, I've been trying to urge people on Alarm After Hours, especially on SiriusXM, that you should be setting up your leagues right now. One of the biggest reasons, if any, in this particular year, unlike all other years, Howard, every league needs a Corona contingency plan. And that means instead of writing your basic rules and scoring for the league once voted on if you're making the changes, we need to put together a plan just in case play gets halted midway through the season or any time throughout the season. Because in basketball, we were dealing with a whole lot of hell in how we're going to deal with prizes and end of season. And I feel like we need to nip it in the bud. And now's the time for fantasy sports commissioners to look at a Corona contingency plan that they can write in their league's constitution.
I mean, there's a lot to have to deal with there. I mean, one of the things that I'm actually going to be talking with Adam Ronis about later on the Fantasy Alarm Show is the IL for fantasy baseball, for fantasy football. Do you increase the IL or IR for football? Do you increase the number of spaces that you can have? What is the what's going to be the protocol? Because there's a lot of stuff that's going around. As far as that goes, obviously HIPAA laws say that players aren't they're not allowed to divulge that a player's tested positive. All the news that we're catching is from beat writers who are like sidling in and getting this information as far as who's testing positive and who isn't. Like the Phillies weren't allowed to say that they were putting Scott Kingery and Hector Neris on IL because of COVID. They were just saying they had to put them on IL, and then we find out that it is. So the contingency plan there, and then on top of that, dude, like you're playing in a money league, and after 8, they delay the start of the season. They miss the first 2 weeks of the schedule. Then they turn around. They only play an 8-week season because they have to. There's just too many cases piling up. And what's a girl to do? Like, what are you doing? Like, Aronis and I get on you all the time. About your fantasy basketball money league there, because we were like, stop being such a puss, man. You got to take a stand. You got to communicate, which you've then done. So what kind of contingencies are you putting in?
The IR spots for my home fantasy football league, which, by the way, I launched, as I said I was going to do on show after show. I launched it on July 1st because I want to get everything set up now. I don't want to deal with any kind of issues surrounding Corona, surrounding people backing out at the last minute, rules changes because of Corona. And that's the whole point. I'm setting it up now, not tomorrow, not after breakfast, now. And one of the things I did was look at those IR spots. This is a 14-team league, Howard, and I can't decide between 2 and 3. That's the hardest part for me because I feel like as a commissioner, I'm going to have to be policing the league the entire season, making sure people aren't trying to beat the system by just stashing players who suddenly become active on their IR, because I'm under the belief that Yahoo and ESPN, where you could play for free in fantasy sports, those leagues aren't going to give a damn, and they're not going to make it so you're forced to take them out of the IR spot, and it's going to be up to the commissioner, adding yet another wrinkle to that thankless job.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's going to be a huge deal, and there's an interesting thing, you have to set it up in the rules that you can't just pick up a player who's on the IR during the season, who gets, if a player gets on, you can't pick him up and just stash him on your IR immediately. But for the same token, what about your draft? Do you turn around and do you say you're not allowed to draft anybody on the IR and stash them away? Or are you saying, hey, you know what? You're spending draft capital here by making that move, and you're going to have to be active on the waiver wire in the first week, but we're going to allow that. Like, are you going to allow drafting injured guys, but not picking up guys off the waiver wire to stash?
Yes. I just made that decision right here.
Boom!
2 milliseconds ago. This is why we talk about this stuff. These are issues that all of you who are in leagues and are league commissioners, you're going to be going through a lot of this, and you can't stay in the middle of the season all of a sudden amending the rules. That's not how it works. You're going to have a mutiny on your hands when it comes to your league. So that's why we're getting to it right now. So yes, to answer your question, you can draft injured players, but the second they become active, that's when it's going to be up to the commissioner. First, we're going to try the honor system. There are going to be people out there in your leagues that'll do anything to beat the system. So we're going to try the honor system. But me as my commissioner, 14-team league, I'm going to have to look at those teams every week. Now, for us, Howard, we're in the space. We're constantly looking for sports news, but we're not the casual player. We're not a league commissioner that has a full-time job that's maybe working 50, 60 hours a week and doesn't have the necessary time to do it, but people are still going to try to sneak it under the wire, let's just say.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there should be a penalty. It's very simple when you're setting up your rules. Listen, if you don't want to have a complex set of rules and a big constitution like some leagues do, you can just copy and paste. Just where it gives you the option to add a league constitution, you can copy and paste what the scoring rules are and the settings are for the league, and just add in at that point and say, during the course of the season, a player who is on the IL may not be picked up and put onto your roster to be stashed on the IL immediately. I guess, you're going to have some people who are going to complain. They're going to be like, oh, well, this guy's got a hamstring problem. He's on the IL. I want to pick him up and stash him. I guess what you would have to say is make some sort of a contingency plan that says, if you pick up a player who is on the who's on the IL from waivers, he must be on your bench and not on your IL, and must stay there for, you could say a week, or you could, if you do it, you could say until he is, until he's activated. I'd say a week.
What about this?
Like a week losing a bench spot, maybe.
Right. What about this though? Let's just say Odell Beckham Jr. gets COVID, and now we have to put him on the
wait. I own him in leagues that count right now, so okay. Can we pick a different player?
Yes, let's say, let's say John Brown.
Is perfect? Okay. Great. Super. Thank you.
John Brown gets COVID and now is out for 2 to 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. Let's say on a Monday, and this is before waivers, Adam Schefter comes out and goes, John Brown expected to come off the injured list or the IR, the COVID list, later this week before the matchup. How does that impact waivers? Because it's not a confirmation. It's just a report from Schefter. And Schefter, even though he's right, if Ian Rappaport reported it, then it's a flip of a coin if it's going to happen. So let's just say Schefter says that on a Monday, and you want to make a move in which you could pick up someone thinking Odell Beckham Jr. is still on your IR. How do you handle that if you get that news, though, especially heading into waivers the next day?
I mean, that's simple. It doesn't matter what the report says that he's expected to. If a guy is placed on the IR or IL by his team, that means that you can stash him. If a player is activated from the IR or the IL, then he's good to go for you to use. You can't manipulate it like that, saying, well, here's a report that says it. It has to be correlated to a strict team transaction. Like, I mean, you could sit there. Listen, if you've got John Brown sitting on your IR, okay, and the report comes out that he's going to play, and the report comes out Monday that he's going to play on Sunday. All right. If you want to make a roster move there, what you can do is you can activate him. And if you've got somebody who's on your bench, then you can put him on the IL. But you can't activate John Brown and then grab somebody off waivers who's on the IL and then bring him and put him back on your IL. That you can't do that. That won't be allowed. And you can't sit there and say, well, I've got John Brown on my IL right now. I'm going to grab this player. He's going to be on my bench, and then I'll just swap the two of them. No. You got to wait until the week is over if you want to make that swap.
Right. So let's say, honestly, we're just throwing out just situations that we're likely going to have to deal with. Yeah, that's all it is. Let's say that we get that report about John Brown from Schefter on a Monday. But waivers come on Tuesday, and he still has, from whatever site it is, Yahoo, ESPN, RT Sports, whatever, he still has the IR tag on him. Can you go about waivers as normal until officially the site takes the tag away from him?
Yeah, I mean, if he's sitting on your IR and the report comes out, but he's still listed as being on IR, I mean, what are you going to do? You're just moving him to the bench. Right. You can go and do waivers, all you want, but you're going to have to, again, you can pick up somebody from your regular bench. You can, drop whoever you want. Like that's, I mean, I'm not really sure. I get maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're asking. Then.
I'm just saying if the tag is, because people are very literal. So if I go to someone in my league and I say, hey, so Schefter's reporting that John Brown's coming off the IR, they come back to me on waivers when they try to make moves with him still on their team's IR, and they make moves not taking Brown into consideration, and I go to them saying you can't do that.
No. They can do that. Okay, they can definitely do that
because they still physically have the tag. You see it in red IR. People are going to be literal and say to me, he still has the tag until he's officially removed. I can do whatever I want. That's fine, right?
But what you have to do also is you have to set it up that a player on the IR, like how many days can go by when that tag is removed? Because, I mean, let's say that it happens on a Monday and John Brown still has the tag on Tuesday, waivers process. Yeah, you can still do waivers that way and whatever, and add and drop whoever you want. Okay, but if you want to activate John Brown, you have a week to activate him. Right. So, if you activate him that week off the IR, you've got to take somebody else from your bench and drop them. Right. But you can't say that, well, I know that here's what's happening is that, Brown's coming off the IR in a couple of days. I'm going to grab this dude here. I'll put him on my bench like the rules say to do, but then I'll kind of switch him up. You have to basically put something in there that says that if you grab a player off the IR, like from waivers, he has to go to your bench and he has to be active for 1 week before he has to be active. He has to play in your lineup before you're allowed to put him on the IR. Like that's the way that you prevent somebody from stashing a guy like that.
Do you see some of the free sites, because on other sites such as My Fantasy League, RT Sports, where things are more customizable to unique formats, unique setups, do you see, in your opinion, Yahoo or ESPN, those free sites giving designated COVID spots instead of IR spots?
Oh God,
or
I hope
do you think it's too much for them?
A, that's too much for them. B, you can't. You shouldn't be allowed to do that anyway, because I mean, again, we're not supposed to know that they tested positive for COVID. Like they're going to be out for personal reasons. They're going to be, soreness in the hamstring. Like they'll mask it some way, to make that happen. So, your IR spots are your IR spots, whether it's COVID or a hamstring or, a broken leg and you're designated to return. Those are your IR spots, which is why I say if you have like 5 bench spots and no IR spots, then give the league like 2 or 3 IR spots there.
Is that contingent based off how many people are in the league? Like, would you say give 2 spots for 12-team leagues, but maybe 3 for 14? Or is it all uniform in your opinion?
I mean, I guess you could adjust it for league size if you want. I mean, I guess that's kind of what, I mean, people adjust the size of the bench, really.
Right.
I think maybe that's what should come down to, is depending on how big your bench is. If you only have a 3-player bench, then you should have, 3 COVID spots there. If you have a 5-player bench, maybe you only have 2 or 3, IR spots there. If you have a 7-man bench, and it's a 14-teamer, then, I mean, if you want to extend, you can extend.
Right. That's one of the biggest problems that I had with my league last year. And I told you about this unique thing last year, Howard, when I was working with you on Fantasy Alarm. And that's what I tried to do is I took kickers and defenses away. And this is a league, again, 14 teams, starts 3 wide receivers. Instead of 2 flexes, I made it 3 flexes that you start, lowered the bench a little bit. Yeah. However, I ran into the problem that, and I agreed with it, my league mates were telling me all season, but I kind of agreed with it. The waiver wire pool was just too slim. So this year, I'm editing that up and making it 2 flex to add another 14 players back to the pool. But I'm just wondering, with everything you're saying, if because of COVID, I need to lengthen the bench from 4 to 5, but that would still give me the same problems I faced last year.
Yeah. I mean, this really is what it comes down to is 2 things, because you don't want to overcomplicate it. Give your league 2, if your league doesn't have IR spots, give your league 2 or 3 IR spots. If your league has 2 IR spots, give yourself 3 or 4 IR spots. Like, I mean, that's just, because we're going to see a lot of movement with that happening. Make that happen. Give yourself a couple of extra spots. Doesn't have to be huge. Could just be 2 spots. It doesn't really, 2 or 3. I wouldn't say 4, 5, or 6 extra spots because of COVID, because then everybody's just going to, I mean, that's just not, I mean, you're allowing somebody basically to have their entire COVID team sitting on their bench while, their scrubs play for a week or 2, against whoever. So I would just say, add some IR spots, and then as far as the waiver wire rules go, say that if you pick somebody up off of waivers who is on IR, he has to not only go to your bench immediately, all right, but then after he has to play, he has to start for you 1 week before you can actually put him, ever put him on IR again. You're just not allowed to do it.
Right, and that makes sense. And if you're likely picking up someone with the IR tag off of waivers, you're mainly picking them up because if your league, by the way, doesn't have these rules, you're a step behind. This is why we're spending this entire stream talking about it, because it's very important. And every time I talk about it, another layer gets added that I have to adjust. And this is why we're having these discussions, because we need to make sure we identify every nook and cranny involved in this COVID contingency plan. And that's something that we're going to continue. I'm learning. I've learned stuff from this live stream. You brought up, can you not draft players on the IR? That, to me, just made me grow hair back on my head. I didn't even think of that, Howard. But then I was able to answer it that, yes, you can, because we want this to still be fun. It's not going to be as fun, though, if you're a league commissioner this year.
No, it's going to take a little bit of extra effort, and it's going to take you having to monitor your league, constantly. If you do daily pickups, like you allow just, free agency the way it is, then you have to, as a commissioner, you have to look every single day at the end of the day at what the transactions were and really be strict about it. Just because your buddy did it, it doesn't really, it's not really a huge effect. No, that doesn't fly. You got to put these rules in place before the season starts and be a stickler about them. So right. It might make you a little bit on the unpopular side, but nobody likes their fantasy commissioners anyway.
No, it's very, very true. Thankless job that it is. One more question. We talked about it on another roundtable a while ago regarding how much of the season would have to go by for you to just not cancel all the payouts and give everybody a refund versus actually giving out prizes. We talked about it for football. What about for baseball? Let's just say we're in a roto league. To you, how much of the season would have to get done? And you're going to put this in your COVID contingency plan. It's the whole point of the plan. How much of the season would have to get done in order for you to feel eligible to give prizes out?
Well, I mean, I would probably say that, like half the season, 30 games.
Okay.
I mean, is really what it comes down to. I mean, it could be 30, it could make it 40 games that if that happens. But again, yeah, you and I differ on the whole multiple payouts sort of thing.
Yes, we do.
And yours, but that's the thing, is that the way you do it overcomplicates it so much that when you're making contingencies for COVID, you're like, oh, well, this guy gets supposed to get that and that guy. No. I mean, here's the thing, is that if the season goes, 8 weeks played, or we're doing baseball here, if the season plays 30 games, then it gets canceled after 30 games, then that's it. The standings are the standings, first place, second place, third place. That's it. There's no, or anything like that. And same thing for me for football. If it goes, if the season goes, 10 weeks, then fine. Then you know what? That's the way it is. And first place, second place, third place, we base it all on record first, and then use total points as a tiebreaker. That's just it. But this like weekly payout for the top point getter and all the other nonsense there. I mean, that just, that just complicates it, Fensty.
Man, you just complicated my league right here, because now you're making me want to get rid of those extra payouts.
And you should, though. You should. You're doing it because you know why you're doing it? You're doing it because you're a nice guy. You're doing it because you want everybody to love the league. You want everybody to get a little something for the effort. And that's it. I love you to death. You're a softie. Put me at the poker table with you, dude. I'll carve you up like a Thanksgiving dinner.
Not if I wear my Greg Raymer sunglasses when I got the crazy eyes staring at you. Then you
the fossil man.
That's right. If I'm ever playing poker, I don't care. It could be the darkest room. I will still wear glasses. My eyes never lie. They tell a big story.
Some tells me you've got a few more tells than that, dude.
Yes, I'm sure.
You just listen. Listen. When I was commissioning, also early on, I was trying to be the guy who was the nice guy, the understanding commissioner. Look how diligent I am with the league, and I want everybody to like it because you want everybody to come back. You don't want league turnover.
It's more than that, though, and this is the one thing. And I know we've disagreed on this in the past, but this is the biggest thing. I've just noticed since I've added weekly payouts and even a little bit more for the final few weeks, I've noticed that I haven't gone to teams in my league, or I haven't had to go to those last place teams that are randomly facing a team fighting for a playoff spot, controlling the destiny of multiple teams that are vying for that spot. I don't have to go to that team and be like, hey, make sure you set your lineup this week. That's a big problem. A lot of people feel that when they're out of leagues, or they don't have a chance to make the playoffs, they're just not going to set a lineup, and that's going to impact the sanctity of the league.
Just put that in the rules then. Put that in the rules. You are obligated to start, and just, say, put that contingency in there that, you are obligated to start a legitimate team each week. You can't leave guys in there with a bye week or guys who are on the IR. You're not allowed to do that. So, at least then that way you can turn to that person and say, set your lineup, make sure you do that. You want to do this league next year? Make sure you're good about it this year. I mean, it's a bad year for you. Sorry, that sucks. But I mean, you can't sit there and bribe people to set their lineups when they're out of it.
Right. No, you're right. It's incentivizing, but it is still bribing.
It's bribing.
It is bribing. It is. But I just noticed since I started doing that a few years ago, I haven't had to do that. And it seems to make those bottom feeders a little bit more competitive because they view it as, hey, if I can still win a week or two, knock a couple of bucks off my entry fee, better than nothing and having to pay the whole thing, which they already did.
Who's in your league? I want to know who's in you. Do I know people in your league?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. In this league, let's see, there's Ani Sridhar.
Yeah.
Phil Backert's in this league.
All right, so two guys right there where there should be no excuses for not setting a lineup.
Yep. Chris Cheon.
Another one, no excuse for not setting a lineup no matter how out of it you are.
Former fantasy alarm alarmer. Mark Kaplan is in this league.
Right? There you go. Again, another one who shouldn't. He's probably the most guilty of it all.
You know what? He's never in that position. He's competitive every year. That's the weird thing.
That surprises me.
Yeah. Defending champion Ben Heisler, who I know that you know is in this league.
Another guy, zero reason to never set a lineup.
Right. So pretty much half the league. That's Sandro. I forget if Sandro is in this particular league, but he's a good man setting.
Is the other half filled with buddies a year from college and high school?
Yes.
Get them the hell out of there then.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Guys, this is a competitive league. You're either going to play it to the very end, no matter where you are in the standings, or get the hell out. I mean, it's
right.
I shouldn't have to incentivize you to play out the season.
Right.
Bad luck happens to everybody.
Right. And you see it in our host league, Howard. You see it that people don't care. They don't set their lineups. Yeah. And then it's and then what? And then I go on and say, I kicked Jeff Ratcliffe's ass, and then he gets mad at me because I put his team on blast. Dude, you didn't set a lineup. You're in the league. Don't go play intramurals if you don't want to be critiqued. That's the whole point of you being in a league, especially these industry leagues, is that other players, casual players, are going to look at your teams and follow them and try to make them a standard and a model, which is why we have to weed out those bad teams. And that's why I continue to kill some of the teams from FSGA, Howard. But if you're in the league, whether it's our host league, which is for a jersey or even no money, it doesn't matter. You set your lineups, you play to the end. That's how I've always handled it.
It's how I've always handled it also. I had horrible luck with injuries last year. You remember me? I was I had Aaron Judge and Mike Clevenger, and I just all these guys who just sat there. Matt Olson missed the first month, and it was brutal for me. But there I was setting that stupid lineup in week 27 of the fantasy baseball season to make sure that it's you got to keep it going. It doesn't matter what place you're in, you got to keep fighting. You gotta.
Do, always. The fight is never finished. In fact, we've only just begun. Let's talk about 4th of July.
Just begun.
I have a nice singing voice.
To live. White lace and promises. A kiss for luck and we're on our way.
Shubs Peterson right here. Shades of Happy Gilmore. Oh, Shubs Happy. I got my hand back. Ain't over yet, McGavin.
Alligator took my hand.
You interviewed Shooter McGavin about a year ago.
I did, dude. That was phenomenal.
That was so much fun.
I said to him, I'm like, what is the what's the most common thing that happens to you when you're on the golf course? Because he was saying how he really learned to play golf in order for the movie. And he's like, well, you know exactly what it is. I eat little pieces of shit for breakfast.
You eat pieces of S for breakfast?
You can say shit, Fetsy. It's okay.
Okay. I didn't know. I always thought no cursing.
Well, we're family friendly here, but you know what? When you're quoting Happy Gilmore, I eat little pieces of shit for breakfast. Is okay with that one.
I'm okay with for that. Breakfast? No. Such a good movie. Best heel, I think, in any movie. Shooter.
Oh, he was great. He was just great. So great.
Let's talk about 4th of July, though, because even though we're still in quarantine, doesn't mean we can't enjoy fireworks from a distance. If you're not a fireman and you're right there shooting off fireworks, I don't know what's wrong with you, Jason Pierre-Paul. So let's just say that for our ideal 4th of July, Howard, what would it feature if I was your party planner and we weren't having COVID? And even with COVID, maybe taking that could make the game fun. What would be your ideal 4th of July? Food, music, entertainment, fireworks. What would it be?
Yeah, there you go, dude. My ideal 4th of July, seriously, would be to have a nice barbecue, to have it all here in the Bay Area. I would want to do is I would want to, I guess I would probably say grill out at my place, or go to the barbecue place down the street now and just get mad crazy, get the meat sweats, get all of that, hang out during the day, and then go down to Shoreline Amphitheater in Mountain View, California. So that way it's an outdoor venue. I got fish playing in front of me. When it's all over, the fireworks are going off. Everything's nice like that. Yes, that would be my ideal.
What are your favorite fireworks?
What's that?
What are your favorite fireworks?
My favorite fireworks are anything that are pretty and don't have really loud noises because my dogs absolutely hate the fireworks. So,
Uh-oh.
oh,
Yes.
they're a nightmare with it, man. You hear like a bottle rocket, and that's not even a loud pop, right? A
Right.
bottle rocket, and Julius is like trying to like crawl into like I don't know, my pick an orifice.
I'm glad that you told me this because we're actually dog sitting our neighbor's golden doodle this weekend.
Oh,
And she's 8 months old and she's already scared to be in our house. So I'm glad you're warning me about this. So she's going to be going nuts.
fireworks are the worst,
So
dude.
what can I do to calm the dog so she doesn't freak out?
If you
Just
got
better.
like, in all honesty, if you've got some like Valium at home. No, I'm totally serious. I'm totally serious. I had a cat who was on Valium. He was like a nut job. Would like attack the other cats, near the litter
Wow.
box. So we had to like put him on Valium just to kind of like zone him out a little bit. Or you just give the dog like only 8 months. You're better off doing like a Benadryl because the Benadryl kind of that the antihistamine. It's not detrimental. It's not hard for the dog. It'll calm the dog down a little bit and do it that way. But you want to make sure that you do it before the fireworks start. Like you don't want to hear a loud pop, see the reaction, and be like, "All right, here's a Benadryl." You got to preempt it. So find out what time the sun goes down, and then 2 hours
Wow.
before.
You learn something new every day. Thank God we had this live stream. You just saved my weekend. I wouldn't have known what to do. The dog started going crazy, already nervous being in our house, not in her own home, which is right next door. So, Howard, we're talking about a little food quickly. My favorite fireworks, by the way, I like the smiley faces. I
I
just
love
think
the smiley faces.
those are my favorites. Now, at the end, just let's pretend we don't own dogs and everything, and I'm not watching a dog. You don't own your dogs. The end of the fireworks show where they just let everything go off is crazy. It's just good. It's amazing. But when you have dogs, it kind of takes the fun away from it.
I mean, who doesn't love the big finale? The big finale is the obviously the best part. I mean, listen, I love fireworks. I really do. I think, when you get like really good, pretty ones. I mean, I grew up in New York City. We had, the Garucci family doing their Macy's Day fireworks, so it was like amazing fireworks all the time. And it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it's tough with the dogs. You got to make sure they're safe. Another tip here. I don't know if you've done this, but you should kind of set up your dog with like a den almost like
Right.
a little pillow fort or something like that so the dog can like go into there and just kind of hide out. And if it's covered and they've just got like the one space in front of them to like peek out, then they feel secure because everything behind them and covered over them is protecting them. It's like
Wow.
they
That's a good
can't
idea.
see me, so
Yeah, that's a good idea. This dog loves hiding under tables. It doesn't matter how small. Half the body could be sticking out and loves to just hide under tables. So
take some
that's a very
couch
good
cushions
point.
from like your basement. You have a basement couch?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so take your couch cushions from there, and in your living room or wherever you let the dog hang out the most, just build him a little fort. He'll love it.
I hope Dana's watching this because these are some great ideas. One more question. This is so important. Are you a burnt ends guy? Because I love burnt ends.
I like them to a certain. My wife digs them a lot more. I prefer obviously medium rare to rare for anything, but like to sit there and like snack on some burnt ends. Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm totally into burnt ends. Not every barbecue place has them, and I'm a little confused as to why. But hey, I love it. And always you see on the menu burnt ends, if available. It's always an if available. It's wild. I love me some burnt ends, especially on a peppered steak. You get the spicy part of that. Just so good. Just like hanging with my guy, Howard Bender. Howard, I hope you have a very safe. No, it's a good thing. Don't undersell yourself. It's 4th of July weekend. We hope everybody stays safe, but that doesn't mean we take a break from winning. Set those fantasy leagues up right now because you need a COVID contingency plan. We just gave you the blueprint, and we'll give it to you again and again and again because it's something that must happen. We always dominate on fantasyalarm.com. Why? Because there isn't any other option. We just win.